The studio lights glimmered above the AGT stage, painting golden streaks across the iconic red buzzers. The crowd hummed with energy, 1,000 whispers of excitement and curiosity blending into one restless heartbeat. The camera panned toward the entrance. From behind the shimmering silver curtain, two figures emerged, a man and a woman in their early 60s, holding hands tightly. You could see the tremble in their fingers, but also the quiet strength in their smiles. The audience wasn't sure what to expect. After all, this was a show known for big voices, bold acts, and youthful energy. Yet something about this pair felt different. They had presence. Not loud, but calm, steady, and full of lived experience. The man, whose name was Ernesto, gave a small nod to his partner, Liza. They had been singing together for more than 40 years, through wedding gigs, small-town festivals, and karaoke bars scattered across the Philippines. Music had been their shared language since they met in their 20s. They'd dreamed of performing on a grand stage someday, but life had its own plans. They raised children, worked regular jobs, cared for aging parents, and watched the years slip by. Yet the dream never left. It lingered quietly in the corners of their hearts, waiting for a chance to be heard again. When the host asked them what brought them to America's Got Talent, Ernesto smiled shyly. His English was careful, each word chosen with sincerity. "We are here, because we believe it's never too late," he said. The crowd applauded softly, charmed by his honesty. Liza added, "Music kept us together through everything. This is our dream, one last try." Her voice trembled slightly, but her eyes sparkled with pride. You could sense that every note they were about to sing carried the weight of decades, of sacrifices, of love, of resilience. The judges, Simon Cowell, Sofia Vergara, Heidi Klum, and Howie Mandel, exchanged curious looks. Simon leaned forward, resting his chin on his hand. He had seen countless acts over the years, but rarely had he seen performers this age radiate such quiet confidence before singing a single note. "All right," Simon said softly, "whenever you're ready." The music began. Soft piano chords, gentle, nostalgic. The opening notes of "You Raise Me Up" filled the air, a song that had lifted countless hearts over the years. But when Ernesto began to sing, something shifted in the room. His voice, though weathered, was powerful, rich, resonant, and filled with emotion that only comes from a lifetime of living. Each note carried a story, each breath a memory. Then Liza joined him on the harmony, her voice soaring sweetly above his, blending perfectly like the meeting of sunrise and sea. Together, their sound filled the theater, washing over the audience like a warm embrace. People in the crowd began to stand, tears glistening in their eyes. Even the judges, seasoned and unshakable, seemed moved. Howie whispered, "Wow." Sophia pressed a hand to her heart. And Simon, the eternal skeptic, simply watched in silence, eyes softening, expression unreadable. As the duo reached the chorus, something magical happened. It wasn't about technical perfection or showmanship, it was about truth. Every lyric seemed to come from the depths of who they were. When Ernesto sang, "You Raise Me Up, so I can stand on mountains," it felt like he was thanking everyone who had ever believed in him. His wife, his children, his country. When Liza echoed, "You Raise Me Up, to more than I can be," it was as if she was singing to the love of her life, the man who had stood by her through every hardship. When the last note lingered, there was silence, that sacred kind of silence that only great performances earn. Then, as if a collective spell broke, the audience erupted into applause. People cheered, whistled, cried, and stood to their feet. The duo looked around in disbelief. They had dreamed of applause like this their whole lives, and now it was real. Simon stood up, slow and deliberate. "I have to be honest," he said. "I wasn't sure what to expect when you walked out here. But that was breathtaking. It reminded me that music isn't about age, or fame, or how many records you've sold. It's about connection, and you too have that in every note." Sophia nodded, tears in her eyes. "You made us feel your love," she said. This was not just singing, it was storytelling. Then, without warning, one of the judges stood and reached for the golden buzzer. A shower of glittering gold rained down upon the stage. The audience screamed, the music swelled, and the Filipino duo stood frozen in shock. Liza covered her mouth, trembling as tears streamed down her face. Ernesto looked up, eyes wide, as gold confetti drifted through the air. They embraced tightly, holding on to each other as the golden light surrounded them. It was as if all the years of struggle, all the nights of doubt, had led to this one shining moment. Their children, watching from the audience, couldn't contain their emotions. They rushed forward, joining their parents on stage, wrapping them in a tearful hug beneath the falling gold. The cameras zoomed in on their faces, joy, disbelief, gratitude, the kind of pure emotion that no script could ever capture. Backstage, the hosts wiped away tears, whispering, "That's what this show is all about." And somewhere, halfway across the world, millions of Filipinos watching from home felt a surge of pride. Social media exploded. Hashtags like #FilipinoPride and #GoldenBuzzer trended within minutes. Fans began sharing clips, saying things like, "This is why we never give up," and, "They proved dreams don't age." The golden confetti slowly settled across the stage like falling stars. Ernesto and Liza stood there, still clutching each other, unable to move. Their eyes reflected the golden light, their smiles trembling with disbelief. Around them, the audience kept cheering, chanting their names. It was one of those moments that seemed to stretch in time, where a lifetime of waiting met a single second of recognition. As the stage lights dimmed, the judges approached to offer their congratulations. Howie smiled and said, "You just reminded everyone watching that talent never fades. It grows deeper with time." Heidi added, "You made everyone here feel something real. That's what this show needs, not just power, but heart." And Sophia, still wiping her tears, hugged Liza and whispered, "You made your whole country proud." Simon stood back for a moment, just watching them, then finally said, "I think you're the reason shows like this still matter. You two brought soul back to this stage." Ernesto nodded humbly, trying to find words, but all he could say was, "Thank you. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you." The crowd roared again as the hosts led them backstage. Back behind the curtains, the emotions finally overflowed. Liza broke down in tears, laughing and crying at once. Their children hugged them tight, saying, "You did it, Mom. You did it, Dad." Producers handed them tissues and congratulated them, and for the first time in their long journey together, they allowed themselves to simply feel proud. Later that night, clips of their performance began circulating online. Within hours, it was trending across multiple platforms, millions of views, thousands of comments, countless people sharing how inspired they felt. One viewer wrote, "They sang for everyone who ever thought it was too late." Another said, "I showed this to my grandmother and she cried. She said now she wants to sing again." The performance had become more than an audition, it had become a symbol of second chances. In interviews that followed, Ernesto and Liza spoke softly about their journey. They said they never expected to win anything. All they wanted was to stand on a big stage once before they grew too old. But what they found was something much bigger. "It wasn't just our dream," Liza said. "It became a dream for everyone watching, to keep believing, to keep loving, to keep singing." Ernesto added, "Music gave us life again. That's our prize." Weeks later, when they returned for the live shows, the audience greeted them with a standing ovation before they even sang a note. And when they performed again, their song choice was simple but powerful, a Filipino ballad that spoke of enduring love, the kind that survives storms and years and distance. The crowd listened in silence, moved even without understanding every word, because emotion needs no translation. Even though the competition was fierce and filled with younger acts, the duo had already won something more meaningful, the hearts of millions. Their journey reminded everyone watching that greatness isn't measured in age or fame, but in courage and honesty. As the season went on, Ernesto and Liza continued to inspire. They sang songs of hope, songs of faith, and songs that reminded people of home. And while they didn't end up taking the trophy, they left the stage as legends, proof that dreams may bend under the weight of time but they never truly break. Months after the finale, the video of their first audition remained one of the most watched performances of the season. Fans still commented daily, thanking them for showing that love and music could last forever. Some even traveled to see them perform small shows in their hometown, where they continued to sing, laugh, and remind everyone that it's never too late to shine. In one of their final interviews, Liza said softly, We came here thinking it was the end of our dream. But it was really the beginning. Ernesto smiled beside her and added, if you're watching this, and you think you're too old to start again, don't believe that. We were told that too. But look what happened next. The video then fades back to the AGT stage, that golden confetti falling, their voices blending in perfect harmony, the audience rising to their feet once more. A single message appears on screen: dreams don't have an age limit. And as the music swells for the outro, the voice of the host returns one last time. If this story moved you even a little, remember to share it with someone who might need a reminder that it's never too late. Subscribe for more real stories that prove the power of hope, faith, and human spirit. Until next time, keep believing, keep creating, and never stop dreaming.